Man, how do you even start this? Before we even started dating, Emma and I went out on a little coffee date. It wasn't really a date, it was just kind of getting to know each other. And because we were both going to Liberty, and I got to ask her what her hobbies were and what she enjoyed, and I got to ask her about her family. And she went on and on about how she just loves her family so much. And she started telling me the stories about her family, and one story stood out in particular. And it was her story about her dad taking her out on a date. And it was a story that her dad got all dressed up and got in a limo and picked her up and then took her to a fancy restaurant and then challenged her by giving her a purity ring to honor God with her purity. And that she shouldn't settle on herself, that she shouldn't take anything less than what her dad is doing for her right now, of treating her with such respect and such love. That just showed me of how Emma has such high standards for the guy she's with. And so after that, honestly, we would just remain friends until November 29th of 2018. And that's the day that we actually started dating. And immediately I was in awe of how amazing Emma is. I actually told Emma, crazy enough, I told Emma on our very first date that, Emma, I'm in this for the long haul and I plan on marrying you. Pretty bold, but I truly meant it. I wasn't dating just to date. I was ready to be serious about this relationship and to find the woman that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And so then time goes on and prayer and wisdom is poured into this relationship, and we both know this is going to be the person that I marry. This is going to be the person that I spend the rest of my life with. And so I started looking all over at every jewelry shop and everything of what ring will be able to show Emma that she is so special and that she is so loved. And I know that Emma is very sentimental, that she has a very sentimental heart, and it's so sweet. And so I went to her mom and I asked her if she has any family jewelry or family diamonds or anything like that that I would be able to incorporate into a ring. And so excitingly, her mom gave me some diamonds to put into the ring. And then I went and looked at all over her Pinterest and got some ideas on what type of design and what type of things she likes and all the stuff. And I went to a jeweler and I got it customized. And so I finally get the ring and so excited to give it to her, but I'm just thinking about the right time and trying to be wise with jobs and everything like that in school. And so finally settling on a time that we would get engaged, December rolls around. I asked Emma's dad if I could marry Emma. And I'm telling you what, that is the most nerve-wracking and scariest conversation ever. But as he gave us his blessing, he just poured encouragement over us, knowing that God will protect and provide for us, but just encouraging us that we can continue to glorify God, that we can continue to represent his name through all the nations.
So me and Josh have at this point been dating for a little less than a year and a half, and truly I have grown more in love with the Lord, become more of who God has called me to be, learned even more about the beauty of life just by simply getting to be in a dating relationship with Josh. Like, it has been such a sweet year of fun and a sweet year of growth. Not every day was easy, but every day was worth it. And I think it's cool that sometimes people will ask me, like, what moment did I know that Josh was the person I wanted to do life with? And I don't think it was one particular moment, but it truly was moment by moment, day by day, that the Lord would confirm his peace in me and assure me that this was the man that God was gifting me to do life with. And so now we're in sophomore year of college.
And so spring finally comes and I start planning on a time that we would get engaged. And with parents and with friends and everything around us, we plan on April 18th. April 18th, we're going to do this big celebration. We're going to fly everybody up to Virginia, and we're going to have all our friends there, and we're going to go shopping and eat breakfast, and at the end of the day, I would propose at this overlook over these mountains. But then spring break comes, and the coronavirus outbreak happens.
And we get the news that we need to go home because of the COVID-19 that's happening. So because we live 3 minutes down the road from each other back in Arkansas, we made the trek back home.
Of course, immediately I was very bummed out that I wasn't going to be able to propose. in the time that I wanted to, in the time that we were going to. But I knew that God was still going to provide an amazing time that would be able to show Emma of how special she is and how loved she is. So we finally head back home, and plan A goes to plan B, and plan B goes to plan C, and we're just continuing to think of all these plans, and we wanted to fly all our friends down, but the borders started closing. And then we wanted to do the same exact plan in Virginia, but just do it in Arkansas, but all the stores were closing. And so it just wasn't working out. But finally, we decided, let's mimic the date that she had with her dad. Let's mimic and honor her and her dad in that time.
And a couple weeks into being quarantined, being at home, I got a very interesting text message from my hairdresser. But I wasn't super surprised to get a text from her because she's my friend and I love getting my hair done. And she texted me and was like, hey, I'm doing house calls to help women feel good and pampered and loved during this time, and I was wondering if you would like me to come over to your house to do your hair. And I was like, yes, that would be incredible.
And we tricked Emma into thinking that her hairdresser is doing in-house calls so that she could be able to come and do her hair.
And then my dad came up to me and he was like, let's go on a date this week. And I was like, absolutely. But I never really questioned anything about it because that's just who my dad is. My dad took me out on my first date when I was 13, and I mean, he decked it out to the nines. He got a limo, we dressed up, he honored me in every way. When I was little, he would paint my fingernails and go back and clean it up with Q-tips. He's just a father who has always reflected the heart of my heavenly Father to show me how loved and cherished and pursued I am. And so my dad was like, Emma, you're back home from college, let's go on a date. And I was like, yeah. That same week, my mom, she said, Emma, I want to have a girls' night. So I want to get your nails painted, I'll paint my nails with you, and we'll just hang out. And so this was just also such a sweet thing that I almost expected because me and my mom have painted our nails together since I was super little. And so we painted our nails, and she ordered in a dress and from an online boutique, and I thought, well, this is just stellar because every girl needs a dress for the summertime. So all of these things, getting my hair done, getting my nails painted, my dad asking me on a date, my mom ordering in a dress online, I honestly didn't really think much of these things beyond the fact that I'm just grateful for parents who love so well and bring such fun in the midst of a quarantine time. But Friday comes.
And so the day the proposal comes around, and I tell Emma, I'm going to be out the lake all day, I'll see you tomorrow.
And I love the fact that my dad just wanted to make me feel so special. And so I had my new dress that my mom had gotten me, and my dad both dressed up, and we got in his truck, and we were going to go out on a date. And as we drove out to where he was taking me, again, I had no idea where he would be taking me, but I trusted him. I had no idea because everything was shut down. No restaurants are open, but we were driving in his truck to wherever he had planned for us to be that night.
Then finally, they're getting ready, and I start heading out to the vineyard, getting it all set up and getting it all look beautiful for Emma.
And we get to this old rundown chapel. And as my dad drives into the parking lot and we get out, we're walking towards the chapel doors. And we stop. And he said, Emma, before we take any more steps further, I have a letter for you. And it was a 2-page letter that he had personally written. And as we're standing there and he's reading this letter to me, this letter is full of words of affirmation. It's full of truths of how proud he is of me and how much he loves me. And he reminds me of that first date that he had taken me on, and how the night of our first date when I was 13, him and my mom challenged me to honor the Lord with my body by choosing not to settle, because God doesn't settle on us. We're not called to settle on ourselves. And so he was just affirming how I had walked with the Lord up to this point only by God's grace and strength. And he also reminded me in his letter about a letter that I had written when I was 16, and this letter was full of qualities that I was praying for a future husband. And truly, this is something that a moment that I will never forget, because as my dad reminded me of that letter, of that list, he said, Emma, there's a man who has now entered the picture, and he has my blessing, and he not only meets the qualities of this list that you never settled on but you always added to. He is this list, and he's waiting on those chapel doors right behind you. And as I've walked you up to this point in your journey, it's now time for me to pass you on to this man who God has placed in the picture of your life. And tears started building in his eyes, and he kissed me and hugged me, and it was one of the most cherished moments that I will never forget. And I turn around, and there Josh is, standing in the doorway of the chapel. And as I left my dad and I walked towards Josh, I kind of started putting two and two together of what was happening. That, okay, wow, I'm about to enter into this season. And it was feelings of gratitude and joy and giddiness. And it was also just amazement, just trying to take it all in. And just, it was a sweet moment, honestly, between me and the Lord. Like, God, you're so good. Here we go. And so I walked up to Josh and was honestly just so excited to see him, because I hadn't seen him all day, because he said he was going out to the lake house with his family. And so I told him, I was like, you're not at the lake.
And we walked down the church aisle, and we get to the end of the aisle, and we're standing on this beautiful rug.
And there were flowers set up, just, I mean, stunning roses of tons of different colors and greenery everywhere. And there was a table, and on the table there was this white canvas.
And I read her this list of qualities that I want in a wife. This qualities that I've been praying over since I was 16. And instead of saying the qualities that I want in a wife, on the top of the list it says that, Emma, you are. And then reading down the list of how she's tenderhearted, she is sensible, and just continuing on.
And he began to share with me his heart in our relationship and how he views me with the eyes of the Lord. And we prayed. This truly, this is another moment that God just assured my heart that I was getting to hold the hands of a man who, again, was coming to the Lord in prayer to surrender our relationship with the Lord, to surrender our relationship to the Lord. And so Josh prayed in thankfulness over our dating relationship, thanking God for how he's brought us through, thanking God for how he was faithful to us in the moment by moment, and also saying, God, we give you this next season. We ask that you would lead us. We ask that you would teach us to do your will. May your good spirit lead us on level ground. We ask that you would use us. Use us to make your name known among the nations. Use us, God, to be vessels of your light so that all people can be redirected to look at you. And
after that, I got to just tell Emma how I can't imagine my life without her, and that I want to spend the rest of my life with her. And I asked her, and I got down on that one knee, and I said, Emma May, will you marry me?
So after saying yes, one of the easiest yeses in my entire life, Josh put this ring on my finger. And I was automatically amazed because it was just so beautiful. But I was more blown away by the fact that it had a deeper meaning behind it. Josh customized the ring, and he gave me a letter that shared the details of how this ring was exactly customized. And I want to share it with you because of how sweet it is and how special it is to my heart. And I pray that it inspires you. The middle diamond was a part of my mom's engagement ring. The outer diamonds on the top were They were a part of my grandmother's wedding ring, and the diamonds on like the band part were a part of my great-grandmother's pendant, and that pendant was given to her by my great-grandfather for their 50th wedding anniversary. So within this ring is over 130 years of marriage. So every time I look at it, I'm simply reminded of how faithful God is, and truly humbled that the Lord would allow me and Josh to be a continuation of that legacy that reveals something much bigger than us. It reveals the heart and the character and the faithfulness of God. And it's so sweet, and I'm just so excited. And the rest of the day was full of joy. I think the excitement only grows. That night I truly stayed up till 3:30 in the morning because I'm so excited, and I'm so encouraged too, because the Lord is so constant, even in the midst of seasons that are inconsistent. So we're no longer dating. I'm going to marry Josh McDaniel. I'm going to be Miss McDaniel. But what's so cool is I'm serving the same God that I served when we were dating. And so just as we leaned into the Lord dating for a year and a half, we now get to lean into the Lord in this season of engagement, because just as he led us through the last season, he's going to lead us through this season, because he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He is gone before us, and he is also at our right hand, and we will not be shaken. But I wouldn't want to do this with any other fella.